Welcome again to another Curator's Chat. I'm Jason French, Curator at the Behringer-Crawford Museum in Covington, Kentucky. Today we are of course not at the Behringer-Crawford Museum. We are here in Covington at the Trinity Episcopal Church on Madison Avenue. I'm here with the rector, Peter D'Angio, and we were going to talk a little bit about the history of this church and how long it's been in our community. Peter, when did this church get its founding?
This church was founded in 1842, and the first building was built here on this corner at 4th and Madison in 1843. So the church has been around, was founded 180 years ago, and 1 year later, we had the first building here. We've had subsequent buildings here as well. This church now came into its final form in 1888. So it's been over 100 years that this church has been in its current state, including our beautiful stained glass windows.
Well, they are spectacular. When you come and see it, it's really just full of beauty, and the way the light hits this building is really great. Now, you and I were talking in the 1937 flood, there was actually water damage in the basement.
There was. So we have a dirt basement. We had a dirt basement. The water, there's a picture somewhere in the archive, in our archives here at Trinity, of the water coming up to the top of the steps at the back of the church. It never made it into the church proper, but it undermined the foundation. And it wasn't until the 1990s, when this building was close to collapsing, that they discovered what was going on. So they had to take everything out of the church, all the pews, all the decorations, all the everything, shore up the foundations, and then put everything back in. And so we did that, and it's been good ever since. But it was a very scary moment for Trinity Episcopal Church. Yes.
Now, over the years, in the well over 100 years history, 180 years history, there's been a lot of famous parishioners here and people that have attended the church. Is that the case?
We had Margaret Todd Kellogg, who was Mary Todd's sister. Mary Todd, of course, was married to Abraham Lincoln. We didn't have any contact with Ulysses S. Grant, who went to First Methodist, but across the street, up the street from that First Methodist church, was the house of John Stevenson, and he was one of the governors of Kentucky. But also we had some fantastic women here. As you well know, in Cincinnati, at the end of the 19th century, there was an art carving movement for wood. And if you go to the Cincinnati Museum of Art, they have a beautiful collection. But we also have a beautiful collection here. The ladies of the congregation art carved much of the woodwork that we have here, and including the altar behind us and the panels beside it. So the art carving movement was very important here in Covington, and the Industrial Art School was founded here at Trinity in the late 19th century. So we have a plethora of artists, artisans, who made this church as beautiful as it is.
So with, Mary Todd Lincoln's sister and others in the 19th century that attended this congregation, or part of this congregation, are there famous 20th century people as well?
There are. We have a connection to the movie It's a Wonderful Life. Everybody's seen that, a Christmas favorite. Samuel Howard Ashe was a bit player in that movie, so we have a connection to Hollywood and stardom. Here at Trinity, we also have a connection to government. Dixie Lee was the first woman in the Commonwealth to run for the United States Senate. And we have then a connection to commerce as well. John Roberts Coppin was the head of the Coppin's department store. And we have many artifacts which have the Coppin's name on it. So that we're at the intersection of so many different parts of life here not only in Covington, but also across the country in Hollywood. One of the things that we're proudest of here is our Tiffany stained glass window, which was done in 1903 as a commemoration for somebody who died. And it is, in a former life, I was an art historian, and specifically I was an American art historian. And this Tiffany window that we have is one of the finest examples I've ever seen in my life. So it's very precious to us as part of that. We also have a window at the western end of the congregation, which I'm looking at now, that was made for another church, but in 1888, when they extended the nave, they extended the church towards the street, they found this window and installed it. And if you come to Trinity at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the window, which has golds and purples and reds in it. It just turns to fire. It's beautiful to see. So we're very blessed to have so much fine art in this building.
It is a beautiful building, and I would encourage anybody, if they have the opportunity, to come and just experience it when it's open for that purposes. It is just a really stunning structure, and one of the very stunning structures and interesting structures that we have here in northern Kentucky. You know, when you think about going to churches, there's often musical history in a church. And this church has a beautiful organ. Is there a history behind the organ as well?
There is. This organ was built by the builder Wilhelm, who was Canadian, and it was built for this space and our musician now. Dr. John Deaver has been with us over 40 years, and the organ's over 20 years old. It was built for him, and it is a very fine instrument, which we get to hear every Sunday morning, which is just a delight. A wonderful organ and a wonderful organist. So it's also an art piece. It is designed to then reflect some of the flora and fauna in the area. So it's the cases. So it's a very fine instrument, and we often have recitals here of outside musicians who will come because they want to play this organ.
Well, thank you so much, Peter, for being willing to have this chat with us. This has been very enlightening for myself, and it is a joy to be in this space. Thank you for spending some time with us. I hope you folks have enjoyed this Curator's Chat, and we will see you on our next chat. Thank you.